let's talk about not another former Sixer, a former Sixer that was potentially a returning Sixer. Nerlens Noel has been in the news recently for his struggles and uh, his issues with Rich Paul and Klutch Sports. So, Sean, update us on that and just let us know what's going on.
Yeah, so first off, I'm very team Nerlens Noel here, and
Yeah.
very Rich Paul's a guy who holds a ton of power in the sports world, and I understand why with the relationships and everything. And Clutch Sports is obviously such a mogul in the industry, but it frustrates me just how much like power he has, and I think it's cool that
Yeah.
Noel's kind of fighting back a little bit here. So the story with this is obviously Noel was drafted by the Sixers, very beginning of the process with that. He signed with his agent Happy Walters, who he negotiated the beginning of his career through that, and he also negotiated the 4-year, $70 million deal that was offered by the Mavs that Noel turned down, which is one of the famous like turn down for like lost all that money kind of moments in sports.
Bag fumbler.
Yeah. So the story with that, the behind the scenes that wasn't really picked up at the time, is Rich Paul and Clutch Sports. So it's not officially clear if it's Rich Paul himself or a below agent, because I'm sure he's not handling everything all hands on. But that they talked to Noel and convinced him that taking a minimum deal the next year and then hoping for a max deal the following summer was what would make the most sense for his career arc. And simply that just was not the case. Noel took the 1-year deal that year, the minimum. Tore a ligament in his thumb, played like 30 games, and has been a minimum guy since then. So he is suing Clutch Sports and Rich Paul for the negligence and loss of money with that. And so, yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen. This kind of a little bit of uncharted waters moment, but there's also the other relevant part of that is that the Sixers allegedly called Paul to try and negotiate a deal to bring him back to Philly, and Rich Paul just didn't pick up the phone, and they were never able to get into contact with Noel about a reunion. So when we think back to the playoffs, when we're all sitting and arguing about Amir Johnson and Greg Monroe being the top two guys off the bench backing up Joel Embiid, you can blame Rich Paul for that. And it would be nice to have Noel in those moments. Definitely would have made a difference on the court. And this is kind of one of those things that I hope he gets his bag back after this.
Yeah, man, that sucks. That's like this isn't I paid for someone's lunch and it was $12 I lost out on today. No, like $50 million,
Yeah.
$58 million, whatever it was, like a ton of money's on the line here, and a lot of money that Noel missed out on as a player that has a finite career. Like Rich Paul can be an agent for the next however many years, 20 years. Like Nerlens Noel has a finite career. His career is going to end. His basketball life is going to end. Like that's it's a lot of money to miss out on, and that sucks for him. And it kind of sucks for us because if he had picked up the phone and had negotiated something with Philadelphia, things might look a little different. And not to, kind of dwell on anything like that because there's no real point to do that. No guarantee he would have even ended up back here had they been negotiating or not. But no, that definitely is a brutal look for them. Tough situation for both Nerlens Noel and Rich Paul. And I'm really interested to see how it goes. And this is definitely something that is probably going to be an ongoing process for a while. And it could become a precedent for a lot of other athletes and agents and agencies themselves.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting circumstance because, like, I mean, at the end of the day, there isn't an exact playbook as like an agent for what you're negotiating in that. But it sounds like all kind of that was offered to Nerlens was just his word, and like we can get you a max contract next deal. That this is just take the minimum now and we'll cash in next paycheck. But really, there was no kind of marketing campaign. There was no plan put in place or anything like that. As far as and now, simply, I guess the plan in general is just play well, is what it is. So I guess some of that falls on Nerlens. But at the same time, like I don't know, I've never really seen anything like this in the way that is pushing back against the agent. And I definitely think Rich Paul is a guy that deserves it. So I do think this will end up getting settled in some way because I don't think Rich Paul is going to be wanting kind of the negative connotation and stories kind of leaking out. So I do think there'll be some sort of settlement with this. But yeah, it is kind of an interesting like suing over money that nobody got kind of deal. So we'll see how it all turns out.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes, but not too much. I mean, he played well last year. He is poised to have another good season this season. So good luck to Nerlens. I hope that this doesn't kind of fall onto the court as well. He can keep these two sides separate.